for quite a few months now, really, it's been seemingly inevitable that the Conservative Party will be out of office at the next election. But really, the kind of major debate and the narrative that's really been discussed in the UK at the moment is really the extent to which the Conservatives will be wiped out at the next election. And I think really, one of the main factors that we've seen over the last few weeks in this election cycle is kind of been the return of Nigel Farage, the Reform Party leader, to frontline politics, which of course causes the Conservative Party considerable problems because it means that the right-wing vote in constituencies across the country will be split between the Reform Party and the Conservative Party, which then enables other candidates from, let's say, the Labour Party or the Liberal Democrats to come through. So I would say that drastically increases the chances of what we would call a Conservative wipeout, which is where the Conservatives would be reduced from currently around 260 seats to sort of double-digit seats in Parliament. Now, that will really have a considerable impact upon the Conservatives' ability to influence both the narrative and events that kind of take place in politics. But of course, it's not just about numbers. It's about the kind of nature of the composition of who is actually left in the Conservative Party after the election in Parliament.
All right. Speaking from a voter's point of view, Mr. Schwarz, how do you think a voter should read into a campaign strategy, if I can call that, by Rishi Sunak, where he says that if the Labour comes into a majority, then it will be like the country will go into a state of dictatorship. From voters' point of view, what do you make of this? Is he crossing a line, or do you see any credibility to a statement like that?
I mean, they're obviously very strong words. I mean, I think from the perspective of many voters around the country, it will very much appear as kind of a desperate tactic. I think, it does largely relate to the fact that in the UK, if you have a parliamentary majority, actually you are very powerful in government and there aren't too many checks and balances, largely because our executive and our legislature are sort of merged into one. And so from that perspective, he's making a comment about the kind of nature of the way that politics works in the UK. But, we could easily flip the reality and to say, well, actually, any party that has a majority in the UK, to some extent, can have the potential for kind of tyranny of the majority because of the powers that enables them. But really, if we look at polls, normally in elections in the UK, we see polls narrowing between the two main parties. But in fact, we're seeing the complete opposite in this election cycle, where the Conservatives continue to dive to sort of their lowest numbers we've really ever seen from the Conservative Party in modern history, to around 20% in the polls. So I think from the voters' perspective, primarily their concerns, and this is backed up by polling, they're concerned about public services, they're concerned about the NHS, they're concerned about the economy and jobs and cost of living. And really, these kind of comments, I don't think will change Rishi Sunak's political fortunes, even a small bit.
All right, Mr. Schwarz, thank you so much for speaking with us and getting us your insights, as always.
Good to be with you.